Looking ahead to this App State offense, what are you guys kind of honing in on, emphasizing going into this matchup?
I think the main thing we're emphasizing is never about our opponent, it's about what we do. And I think if we keep that mindset, right, focus on the things that we control, right, do a great job at the things that take no talent, I think we'll be just fine when the game comes in the fourth quarter. So I think the more the emphasis is not what the opponent does. Let's get back to the basics, right, back to our communication, how we work, right, how we operate, right, and just try to see where that leads us and where that brings us to.
Kind of after a review of the tape from the Houston game, the defense really just kind of failed to finish there in those final couple minutes. What did you kind of see on tape, and what are you guys working to correct?
I saw a lot of good stuff on tape. I think it's easy to focus on, a small scale sample data of plays, but I think as coaches, we do want to critique the negative, but I think it's important that we highlight the positive. All right, so there were some really good things that happened out there on the grass. Under duress, right, with light bodies, light in the room in terms of the secondary. But, some good stuff, and we just want to make sure we harp on that we finish. That we were right there, right? We just we lacked detail at times, and that thing showed up at the wrong time. So it's a wonderful opportunity for us to learn and grow from.
Did Houston change anything that they were doing on offense in those last couple drives in the fourth quarter?
No, I think they were running their offense. Obviously, there was a more emphasis on the pass since we were shutting down their run game, so it was more obvious passing situations. But in terms of the route combinations that we've seen on tape, it was the same stuff that we worked and repped in practice. That was the disappointing part, but I just think some of those guys, right, we got young players out there, just lack that focus at times, and we got to do a better job as coaches as redirecting their focus.
One of the areas that went better against Houston was quarterback contained. What did you see? What progress was made there?
I just think it was emphasis on the details. I think we don't align or design our defenses to allow the quarterback to get out. Usually there's some detail missing, with someone up front. So I think just understanding how to balance the rush, right, how to play off of one another, right? Sometimes a guy gets pushed too far, right, on one side of the quarterback, right? We get a 3-by-1 box where three guys are on one side and one, right? We're emphasizing that quarterbacks want to escape in that backside B gap, and that's what you saw last week. Guys are really responding to that particular piece of coaching, right? And those 3 sacks that came, from the defensive tackles working the backside B gap. So I think the things that's being echoed around the program is just trust the technique and trust the details, because there are things that we've been leaving on the plate in terms of production, right, that we're being taught, right, that we're being emphasized, but we're not recognizing those situations when it's hot. So we just got to continue to coach them better, right, and hopefully, right, the guys will respond and see those situations a little bit better next time.
Was tempo at all a factor there at the end of the game against Houston? And if so, how do you work on that in practice?
No, I don't think that was an issue. They're not a fast team. Obviously, we rep 2 minute, every Wednesday. Yeah. So we're kind of used to, doing that, and we do red ball, every 2 minute on every Wednesday. We do red ball every Tuesday. Okay. So we're used to tempo settings. I don't think that was the issue. I think it was a lack of focus, right? We didn't execute with technique. Credit off to their guys, man. They had to make the play. But we like to be of the mindset that we want to force those guys to make plays. And we feel like we didn't force them to make plays. We gave them those.
Yeah. Boise State came up with a ton of turnovers against this App State defense. What did you guys kind of see from a review of that game that you're wanting to implement this week, and how can you really attack them?
To be honest, man, I would love to come up here and say they had some exotic coverages that they ran that made it so difficult. But I think rush and coverage works together, right? You rush the quarterback, you put pressure, you force him to throw the ball when he's not ready, or you force him into a poor decision. I think those are the things that you saw consistently, right? When you get pressure, you speed the quarterback up, right? He does things in the timing that he doesn't necessarily want to do, and it may not be the right decision. So I think you saw the quarterback, the rush got hot, right? I think the defensive line did a nice job of putting pressure on their offensive line and forced the quarterback to throw the ball quicker than he wanted to. And obviously defensive backs were opportunistic, right, in making those plays and putting points on the board. But you score twice on defense, man, it's hard to lose a game that way, So hopefully, some of that good mojo, right, will rub off on us, right, and some of the juju on them, right, still sticking around by the time we get over the bone.
I think they were third in the nation passing going into that game, and then had 65 total yards and the 2 pick sixes. Was there something different that Boise was able to do on the line to get that pressure?
Well, I think it's early in the season, you know what I mean? Early, small sample size just in terms of the data. So, I believe they played Lindenwood, and they beat Charlotte. So, things may have got out of hand, in terms of that game. So I think early in the year, you got to kind of take the statistics with a grain of salt, because you never know if a game got lopsided one way or the other. So I don't think we take too much into what their statistics were going into it. Stats are stats, man. We just want to look at the film, and ultimately, right, we really want to just focus on what we do, because if we do the things that we're taught to do consistently, right, we'll be fine.
Couple weeks with Conrad here, how's he continuing to grow and his role expand?
Well, I think Conrad's been a good jolt of energy to our team. Obviously, he's a South Florida guy. We went to the same high school. I recruited him out of high school when I was at another place. So, I knew that he would bring a certain level of energy to our program. Was fortunate to add him. Obviously, we probably put him in there a little bit sooner, right, just because of injuries. But, some of those plays and some of those calls he probably wasn't as familiar with to have as many reps. But his energy, right, is contagious, and it's kind of, it's forced us to put him on the field, right? Right when he stepped on the field, he came on striking people, setting edges, right, running a little bit different, right? It's on Coach Cooper and myself, really just kind of get him schooled up and get him many reps as we can. We can't replicate fall camp, right? So we're just doing a lot of things, whether it's Zoom meetings, right, getting him up here in times when he's probably doing something else or not doing anything school-related. We're just trying to get the most out of him. But, he's a high care factor about the game of football. You can tell he's passionate about how he moves around. I think the more and more comfortable he gets in our system, I think the better and better he's going to be for us. It was a really good get.
You mentioned the availability kind of in the secondary a couple times now. What's the availability look like heading into App State?
Man, we got to roll with who we got, right? We have what we got, and what we have is enough, right? So we feel like we got enough bodies that we can roll some dudes in there. Obviously, we got younger guys playing that probably wouldn't be in that situation if everything was ideal, but that's college football all over the place, right? So nobody cares if Trey is 18, right? Nobody cares about any of that stuff. You got to go out there and do your job when you step foot on the field. So, the availability, obviously, we'd like to have a full stable, right? But nobody's healthy and has a full stable at this time of year. And we got 7 games of football left. If we get some people back, that'll be great. Hope to do so. But I think we have enough to win the football game that's ahead of us, and that's all we're focused on.
You guys have flipped Cy kind of from the inside to the out a handful of times this year while Trey's kind of played that field boundary spot. And I'm curious, the movement for Cy, have you guys found a spot that you're really comfortable with him in? Right
I think he's comfortable with it all, but I think sometimes when injury, happens, you want to lean on some experience. And Cy does have experience, and he's played in big games for us. And not only that, right, the majority of our nickels play corner. Right, so if we're in a base scenario where the nickel isn't on the field, we're in 12 or 22 personnel, that's where Cy would line up. He would line up normally at corner. If you watch him at pregame, right, we run out there in base and pregame, he aligns at corner. So he's at home there, right? We just play a little bit more sub package more than others, right? Not a lot of teams are, living in 12 and 21 personnel like they would maybe 10 or 15 years ago. So I think he's comfortable, and that's just the versatility. That's why we all meet in the room. He's not the only guy that can play multiple, right? Trey can play both spots. We just hadn't asked him to do that. But, when you do have injuries, right, it does have a luxury that we can move guys around, especially if you got some guys who may not be as experienced, right, to go in there and play against a Big 12 football team, right? So you might want to lean on the experience of Cy. He may not line up there every snap, right, but we know he's played in big-time football games for us, and he can help us out. So that was the thought process there. You probably see it more, as we go, and just depending on the availability of our guys.
Kind of, for all the injuries in the secondary that you guys have had, Jaheim and Skylar have stayed healthy on the back end. I'm curious, what have they really added for you guys this year, and how have you kind of seen them come along?
Don't jinx me.
Of course.
Don't do that. Right, they've done a nice job staying healthy. Those guys do a good job on their body, especially Skylar, right? He's one of the first guys in the building. But, again, you just see guys getting a little bit of continuity together, obviously playing together, but we need more out of those guys. That was the message, across our entire defense. We need more from everyone, more from the players, more from the coaches, more from the trainers, right, more from the equipment staff. We need more because we're seeing improvements, right, but those improvements aren't necessarily getting the results that we want. So we need more, right? We need more of the eye discipline, more of the physicality, more of the effort, right? If we do those things, we feel like we'll be in good shape in the fourth quarter.
You said you had a previous relationship with Conrad. What was it kind of that in-season recruiting process like with that? When did he kind of pop up on your radar that he'd be available?
Well, it was a weird scenario because, to be honest, he never really got into the portal. So if you're not in the portal, right, college coaches cannot contact you. So for us, he was fortunate that he has a cousin that played here in the past. So he was actually pushing him to you should go to Oregon State, right, without contact from us. Just because Ron Hartz, right, who played here, right, is his cousin, right? So he was just kind of encouraging him, hey, look, man, why don't you go here, right? This would be a good spot for you. And him being here, knowing that we're a quarter school, it was a good situation that he still would be able to get in school, hadn't played a game in his last school, so he still would be eligible here. So that kind of helped us out, right, in terms of that, man, just having somebody who knows the program, has great respect for Coach Bray. Myself, obviously, between Ron's father, right, is the high school coach down in South Florida as well. So there's some continuity, but due to the rules, I kind of had to keep my hands out of it, right? And then Ron was just a great advocate for the program, trying to send them to us.
All right, last one. Well, we're done. All right. Thanks,
Appreciate you.
A lot more run in year 2 after getting on the field some as a freshman. Just kind of how's the season gone out for you so far?
So far, it's been an amazing season. working with the people around me, getting better every day, competing. Competition is everything for me, so it's been amazing.
When you came in, you were pretty light on the listed roster, added some weight this offseason. How did that kind of come about? How's it felt carrying more weight?
Coach Bray was on me about my weight every single day going in. He would tell me how to eat more, to get 2 plates of food every day, take it home. They took care of me, got me right. And putting that extra weight felt great, honestly. Adjusting to it, again, 20, 30 pounds heavier, feeling good.
Do you have a kind of a target? Is that still like something you're still working on?
For me, I'm at like 235 right now, so I would want to get to like 245, 250 at least to feel like at the perfect set weight to play the best edge position I know I could be.
What were you when you showed up?
When I showed up, I was like 205.
Dang. So, what's kind of the diet? What's your go-to to
Diet.
packing it on?
Steak. It's a lot of steak, actually. A lot of protein. Whatever my nutritionist here says.
For sure.
Yeah.
So you're one of the young guys on that line and having some success, but the team as a whole, it's in a tough space. How do you stay positive when the team's not having the success that everybody was hoping to coming into the season?
Of course, the success is the way it's going right now. It's tough, but it's like leaders like Coach Bray, Coach Shantz. They started off to push us to keep going. Then we look around, Skyler, Jaheim, all those guys, offense, they keep pushing, so it pushes us to keep going no matter what.
So what's the attitude in the room as you're preparing to, for a long road trip? Is it good to have this road trip and this time together?
For me, I feel like it's great. It's an amazing bonding moment. And for us, it's like we know what we have to do to win this game.
Heading back to North Carolina a little bit closer to home for you. And you anticipate getting to have family come out to the game this weekend?
Of course, getting a little family out there would be amazing.
For sure. How many tickets did you have to lock down?
I say my 4 worked.
For sure.
When they are showing you the App State offense, what are you seeing that you have to do to be successful on?
I'm seeing a talented front. So for me to be successful, I have to pay attention to my keys, details, get off, take off, edge, all of that. All of that matters. It's all of us come together as a line, a unit, playing. So I know if I get pressure, then the back end could cover, get interceptions just like we did last week, play as a unit.
You played a little bit more off-ball backer against Houston. Is that just kind of the nature of kind of that jack backer position? Or?
It's just the nature of it.
For sure. Did you do that much in high school, or were you just kind of a
Yeah,
guy?
I did everything in high school, so it was fun.
Humble brag.
So, Coach Bray has talked about the importance of, even as the edge rushers are trying to create that pressure, but to do it in a disciplined way, to not create escape lanes for the quarterback. How hard is it to balance those two things when you're trying to create pressure and at the same time be aware of not creating lanes?
It is difficult at times, but knowing that if I mess up, then that's also messing up somebody else, it gives me an idea to do my 111. I can't do everybody else's position. I have to know that my guys to the right of me, to the left of me, are also going to do their thing. So we can create pressure, we can create sacks, and capitalize off of it.
Did you feel like maybe that it seemed to Wegman, a guy who's had some success running the ball earlier in the year, didn't have that success on Friday night? Do you feel like you guys improved at that?
Of course, trusting in our coaches, trusting that they're going to set us up to make plays. We don't have to be a superhero. We just need to make the plays that are set up for us.
All right. Thanks, Shamar.
All right.
First guy with 2 sacks in a game and quite a while for this program. How much personal pride did you kind of take in that?
It feels good, but I give credit to the guys on the rest of the line. It takes more than just me. It takes the whole line to work that rush. And so shout out to the D-line. And it feels good, but we got to stack more, so like Coach Chan said. So, yeah.
Coach Bray has said that his style of play up front, of attacking instead of sitting,
Yes, sir.
takes some time to learn for guys. Has that been true to you, and are you starting to feel more comfortable as an attacking tackle?
we move a lot up front. I'm used to staying in the run, staying 2 gaps, but now it's been a good transition. Just working on that, getting in the backfield, doing our job. The transition has been good, especially for the freshmen. They've been learning the new scheme, and it's been challenging, but good challenging.
What do you like about this approach as opposed to maybe, for lack of a better word, a more passive approach at tackle?
What do you mean?
Well, he wants you attacking it into the backfield.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, what do you like about that?
Oh, just we're on the other side of the line of scrimmage, creating pressure for the other side, making them move off the ball and not getting their spot. It messes up the times with the DBs, so I mean it works. So keep on going. Yeah.
What have you guys kind of seen out of the App State offensive line?
Offensive line, they're good front. They battle up front. They like to short set up front. They like to move the ball, get it out in space, and just create plays. Yeah.
What challenges does that present to you guys as a defensive line?
Well, we just got to do our job. Just keep moving fast, play the way we play, find the ball intact.
Anything else? Thanks, Jacob.
Thank you.